This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 358 on I usually say lovely, but it's not that lovely, on a cold Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. Happy St. Patty's Day. I think most people celebrated this weekend, but it is actually St. Patty's Day today. I am Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host, Trevor Hulan, a.k.a. Hack Squat, Jim Duggan. Here at The Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include NFL team packs, graded cards, individual cards, and more. Shipping is always fast, and it is still free. Check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. We're going to do one ad, and then we'll do the rollback ad before we transition into segment one. Next up is the NIL store. March Madness is coming up. Get your favorite Vanderbilt men's and women's basketball players gear and merch at nil.store/doorreport15. Have some great Michaela Blakes, a new Aubrey Galvin shirt.
I was going to say, fantastic. I saw the new Aubrey Galvin shirt, Ob the Baller. I was like, I want to cop that.
I'm pretty sure my grandmother bought that. And if she has that shirt, I've got to see her rocking the Aubrey Galvin shirt. It's tough. Visit nil.store, men's and women's. Michaela Blakes, Aubrey Galvin, Tyler Nickel, Tyler Tanner. Check it out.
Tyler Harris.
Use code DoorReport15 at checkout for 15% off your entire order. A locked and loaded and beefy episode 358 today. A lot to get into. The first day of spring practice for Vanderbilt football. TDR was not in attendance. They will not be in attendance for spring practice number 2, but I will be there on Saturday, so I will have an actual spring practice report. But as of right now, not a lot of updates on that. We'll just talk about what we kind of observed on social media and any contact information that we got. Then we'll go to women's basketball. The Vanderbilt women's basketball team is a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. We will dive into their bracket and matchup, and a majority of this episode will be Vanderbilt men's basketball. Lost in the SEC championship game to Arkansas, but a great run to get to the championship game. The Vanderbilt Commodores are a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. We will discuss the seeding, as well as their upcoming matchup against McNeese, not McNeese State, as I have continued to say, just McNeese. They dropped the state for a cleaner name. We'll also discuss Vanderbilt's region kind of as a whole, but specifically their little group that they're with alongside Nebraska and Troy. Then are we going to give our winner? I don't have my winner yet for the NCAA tournament pick.
I have mine.
I've said Arizona before the seeding was announced, but then I saw that they're up against Arkansas in the Sweet 16 potentially, and Arkansas is one of the teams I had marked to potentially make a run and upset a 1 seed, and of course, so I don't know yet. We'll see if we'll announce our winners. Trevor will at least.
I have my national champion. I don't like it, though. I don't like my national champion.
We'll talk about that. And then baseball. Good series this weekend. Bad midweek result. We will discuss that a little bit. But to be honest, this is not a baseball episode. It's just not. The Vanderbilt Commodores are in the NCAA tournament as a 5 seed. There's
the highest in over a decade.
There's more pressing matters to discuss in depth. So we will quickly talk about baseball, but it's not going to be an in-depth baseball breakdown. Then we'll go to the TDR cocktail break, and then we have premium message board questions. No idea what we have on the horizon there. A lot on our plate for this episode. But Trevor, I think you were at a, what was it? Vibe check last episode, 9.5.
I was in the 9s, like a 9 point, 9.5. Yeah.
How are we feeling now?
Man, I'm gonna stay at a 9.5 because I absolutely loved what I saw from this Vanderbilt basketball team this weekend in the SEC tournament. Even in the loss to Arkansas, which we'll get into, I really, really liked what I saw out of that ball club. I obviously loved what I saw against with their win against Tennessee, and I obviously absolutely loved what I saw whenever it came to their performance against Florida on Saturday. I'm going to stay at a 9.5, so almost to a 10. The only thing that's keeping me from a 10 is the Vanderbilt Commodores are dancing. I believe they are going to beat McNeese. However, the nerves that I feel keep me from getting to a 10. I'm not even factoring in baseball. We'll talk about baseball later. I was at one of the games this weekend for the LSU series. Got to see a Vanderbilt win on Saturday. Once again, I still have thoughts about this baseball team that we'll get into, but I'm going to be totally honest, guys. I don't care about baseball right now. I'm so focused on Vanderbilt men's basketball.
It's basketball mode. It's men's basketball mode for me and Trevor, particularly.
Yeah.
I knew spring practice was. This has nothing to do with why me and Trevor were not in attendance. So to get it out there early, by the way, weekdays, I'm not going to be able to be at spring practice. Trevor, I don't believe is either. So the only time that I will have the opportunity to go is on weekend practices, which I will be in attendance this Saturday. But it's basketball mode. So even spring practice snuck up on me, to be completely honest. I knew it was happening. I knew it was coming up. It was on my calendar, but it still snuck up on me because I'm so dialed in to basketball right now. As 95% of Vanderbilt fans are.
Yeah.
I wish we could all be like Colin Bryant, Peter Porker, and be laser focused on every single sport happening all at once. I don't know how he does it.
I wish I had that attention span.
He's writing incredible baseball previews on top of women's basketball, on top of men's basketball, and he's just throwing in incredibly detailed women's volleyball season breakdowns and future outlooks.
And he's being a great husband. He's married. He's being a great husband.
Unreal.
He's also a PhD student at Vanderbilt.
He's making everybody look bad.
Dude, I don't know if anybody has a better work ethic than Peter Porker.
It's unreal.
I'm going through my doctorate right now, and I literally can't focus on anything other than school and basketball. And he's going through a doctorate, marriage, and focused on legitimately every sport, even the non-revenue generating sports. It's amazing.
There's also a great article by another one of our writers, George Barclay, Boston George, who has a special message for us on this episode.
I heard.
That I will be playing. I have not listened to it yet.
Haven't
We
either.
will see. But I brought it up early because of that. He also has a great season takeaways / looking forward to the NCAA tournament article out on thedoreport.com for premium subscribers. So check that out. It kind of dives into a lot of things associated with this basketball team, both positives and negatives. Playing better basketball, but also there are some weak spots on this roster. So a great article by George. But one last ad read here, Roback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Roback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Roback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Roback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, all capital letters, no spaces, on roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled Roback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. Last but not least, because we forgot to bring it up before we get into segment one, the TDR 2026 Bracket Challenge is live.
Yes.
Check out Twitter or Facebook. That link has been posted, or the premium message board behind closed doors. First place will receive a $100 Roback gift card courtesy of TDR, as well as a free TDR hat of their choice, either the white hat with the black bill or the black white rope hat. I don't know exactly what the right term is. Black hat with a white rope that I'm wearing right now. So join the TDR Bracket Challenge. Costs nothing to enter. One entry per person. We really want it to go to a Vanderbilt fan this year. Last year it didn't.
Yeah.
It just went to a random person that found it on Twitter
Yeah.
and won. So I really want to see a Vanderbilt fan win it.
Yeah. And also, too, if you don't want the gift card and you also already have a hat and you don't want the hat, another additional prize that you could pick from is you get to spend the night at Casa TDR for one night.
I'm sure that's very appealing.
With Will, Miller, and myself, as well as Phoebe. You can spend one night at our townhome in Silva Park.
You can watch us record an episode of TDR, and then we'll have a sleepover.
Yeah.
Perfect. Watch us record an episode while it's editing upstairs and exporting. We'll go down to ML Rose, grab some burgers.
Yeah.
Just have a slumber party.
But
That's your other
you
option.
can't have both. You can't have
Yeah.
the gift card and the hat and a sleepover. You have to pick the gift card and the hat or a sleepover.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
No. Yes. Also, if you were a woman and you were participating in the bracket challenge, you were automatically disqualified from the sleepover. Dudes only.
Sorry. No girls allowed.
No girls allowed. Dudes only sleepover.
But before we get into segment 1, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content, as well as our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. Make sure to hit that like button on the YouTube channel. Please do. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes or Spotify. And I'll reemphasize it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's now time for segment 1.
You know, there's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having a really good time with it.
Welcome back into the Door Report and welcome into segment 1. Already mentioned the bracket challenge, so that was the first thing I had written down here. Next up is football. There is actually football to discuss, and I did bookmark a post who broke this down. It's from Vandy Express, I believe, on Instagram. That is a really good Vanderbilt Instagram account, by the way.
Yeah.
If you have not, where the hell are bookmarks on Instagram? I am an old man.
You're asking the wrong guy.
I know where bookmarks are on Twitter. Well, now I can't find it. This is really good podcasting right now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not I use Instagram, but I'm not like an Instagram guy. I feel like Instagram was made specifically for a different demographic of myself.
I use Instagram. I do not use TikTok. Twitter's still my favorite by a long shot because I'm clinically sick in the head. But there was a list of new numbers for 2026 Vanderbilt football as of spring practice. So Vandy Express, whoever runs that account, thank you for doing this. They went through and listed off all of the number changes and or new players with new numbers that transferred in. So I'll read those off for people out there, but you can look this up on the roster online, as well as I think I saw some people post the just roster sheet. Blaze Berlowitz has changed to number 1 now. So that was Trent Hudson last year, right? Or Tristan Brown, Trent Hudson or Tristan Brown. One of the two.
Tristan Brown.
Okay.
No, Trent Hudson.
Jared Curtis is officially changed to number 2.
So much aura. He got the go-ahead for Pavia.
The torch has been passed.
He got the go-ahead.
Bryce Cowan is now number 3. But I don't know if these probably are not all permanent.
No, they're definitely not permanent at this point. But I'm just raking it off of vibes.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, Blaze, because 19 is my lucky number and my favorite number. Blaze going from 19 to 1, hate. Bad move, Blaze.
I did like 19 on Blaze for some reason.
He filled it out well.
Jalen Lackey. This is why I said they're not all permanent. Jalen Lackey with number 3 right now. One of those is going to change.
Yeah.
You're not going to have Bryce Cowan and Jalen Lackey both with number 3. Bryson.
Well, you could have, since they're on different sides of the ball.
Bryce Cowan and Jalen Lackey.
I'm so sorry.
Bryce
I
Cowan's
was thinking of Bryson.
who is who I am about to say who has switched to number 9.
I love that on him.
Carson Lawrence, number 10. Bryson Coleman, of course, number 9 was Eli Stowers' number last year. Bryson Coleman, also a tight end. I forget that not everybody just has this roster completely memorized.
Cowan was 22 last year.
Yeah, Lackey was 27. Yep. Jared Curtis was 12, previously seen.
Blaze, of course, 19.
Yeah, Carson Lawrence, 10. Vanzel Hinton, 12. Caleb Barnett at 13. He was definitely going to get a lower number at his size. He was not going to be 81 for much longer.
I really like 27 on Carson Lawrence. As a Carson Lawrence guy, I think that's a bad move. 10 on a safety, 27, like I think of Malcolm Jenkins.
Tate Hamby, 13. Jamison Curtis, 20. Gabe Fields, 24. Austin Howard, 30. Austin Howard was 34 last season. Gunnar Givens, 50. Gunnar Givens was 56 last season. Transfers coming in. These are the numbers that transfer players have. Kobe Sellers, 0. Number 7, Ricardo Jones, transfer from Clemson.
Love that
safety.
Number on him.
Walter Taylor. Oh, Walt Taylor coming back playing tight end, number 12. 13, Ja'Cory Thomas.
Love that.
15, Mike Diatta. 16, Jalen Davies. And just to be clear, Ja'Cory Thomas is the ODU wide receiver transfer. I forgot to mention that. That's a big pickup. 17, Cole Adams, the quick slot white wide receiver from Alabama.
Should be for Jonathan Krause. Don't like that number on him.
I do like something about 17. Yeah, it is a Krause number, but also
it's also a DJ Moore number. Like, is this kid worthy enough to wear 17?
I saw a little whip route he ran that I think I saw from Elena Morris, and it was it's beautiful stuff. It looked like he deserved 17. From one clip, I'm sold. Edwin Kalinge, the Boston College transfer edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 17. 18, Javante Connor, the transfer tight end from ECU.
I like that number for a tight end.
19, CJ Jackson. And then we get to linemen. 65, Micah DeBose. 75, Bo Johnson. Love that
like
number.
that. Like that for a tackle. Like that for a tackle.
91, Brian Allen. 99, Talon Carter. Both those defensive interior linemen.
Love interior still being in the 90s. Love that.
And then I'm going to run through, I think these are freshmen really quickly or just other miscellaneous guys. So number 20, Isaiah Lee. Not all are freshmen. These are just miscellaneous roster or number changes. 20, Isaiah Lee. 23, Evan Hampton. 25, Mason Lewis. 27, Bradley Brown. 44, Daniel Vollmer.
These are all freshmen.
These are all freshmen.
Yeah,
50,
these, yeah.
Okay. 54, Trip Skews. 55, George Williams Hasiotis. 72, Mitchell Smith. 73, Politi Primus. We butchered that whenever he committed.
Just call him Optimus Prime.
Optimus Primus. 81, Caden Smith. 82, Adam Jim. 83, Owen Cabell. 86, Tilden Riley.
83 on Owen Cabell. Give that kid a low number.
So that is it for football. Just wanted to read off those number changes. Of course, we did not, but the media, and there were some clips out on social media. Fans got a first look at Jared Curtis in the black and gold actually practicing. It's spring ball. So outside of somebody looking absolutely horrendous, I think that's the only kind of real takeaway you can have from spring ball is if somebody comes out at like a quarterback position and just looks awful. But
either that or injuries. I think injuries
Yes.
are way worse than somebody having a shitty spring.
Well, different than a shitty spring. The reason I always say that is I always wanted to come in.
Nate Johnson.
I always wanted to come in and say, look, guys, all these reports from spring practice, take them, crumple them up outside of just throw them out the window. There's so much time in between now and when fall camp starts. Then me and Trevor got to go to our first spring practice and saw Nate Johnson play quarterback. And immediately,
it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
We couldn't say anything about specific player performances at the time, but we
were sworn to secrecy.
Both of us shifted our takes to Diego Pavi is going to be the starting quarterback of this team. And if he's not, so help us God.
Yeah.
And
we weren't even saying gonna be. We were going to saying like he has to be the quarterback. He has to be the starter.
Which looking back is very funny, but that's why I no longer say
ball knowers.
That's why I no longer say that you can have no takeaways from spring practice. But every report that we've kind of seen and all the videos, like Jared Curtis just looks like what you would expect the number one quarterback in the country to look like as a freshman.
Yeah.
He's going to make freshman mistakes, but boy, he's a physical specimen with a cannon of an arm.
Do you remember that spring practice we went to? There was I don't know if it was you, but I know that there was one guy that like I just fell in love with his energy, the way he practiced, his attitude. Do you remember who that guy was?
Do not.
It was Colby Taylor.
Colby Taylor.
Do you remember we were standing there and we were watching him warm up and we're like, ooh, that's a guy Vanderbilt doesn't normally have.
Yeah, all I remember from going, or not all, I remember like, 'cause we talked to Mike Wright's dad, rest in peace, great guy.
Chase Gillespie almost ran me over.
Yep.
And I thought Jerry Kill was going to strangle me.
The main thing I remember from that, though, is watching that practice, my heart falling into the pit of my stomach, as I had pretty much banked a lot on Nate Johnson being the man. And I'm not a quarterback scout, never pretended to be, not a quarterback expert at all. Me and Trevor both looked at each other after about 5 minutes and we're like, we're screwed.
Yeah,
we are screwed permanently. That's enough for football. I'll have a big time football update after I'm able to go on Saturday.
We literally were leaving practice, walking through the parking lot. We both go, man, Nate Johnson sucks.
Then obviously he changed positions after he transferred from Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt women's basketball next up. We'll briefly talk about that because if they lose in their first couple games in the NCAA tournament, that's when we'll really talk about it. But I don't
fire Shea Ralph ?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be starting that trend. But Vanderbilt women's basketball lands as a 2 seed. At some points during the season, they did have a chance to be a number 1 seed, and unfortunately, just kind of blew their opportunities. And then really performed poorly the last time we saw them play a long time ago.
Yeah, in the tournament,
week and a half ago at this point. In the SEC tournament, or at least a week ago, and just got blown out, got their doors blown off. But Vanderbilt, a 2 seed in the Fort Worth region, Connecticut, the 1 seed in that region. Like you predicted, Trevor, going to try to have that storyline of Shea Ralph going up against UConn.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt right now matched up against 15 seed High Point. Vanderbilt is currently, have you looked at the line yet?
I'm not a gambling man for men's athletics, let alone women. So let me know.
I have not gambled a lot this year generally, but I still like lines as a predictive metric. Vanderbilt's a 36.5 point favorite right now over McNeese. Not McNeese, over High Point. That's in the future. I wish Vanderbilt men's basketball was a 36.5 point favorite.
Well, you say that, and like I believe whenever it opened, the line for Vanderbilt McNeese was like 11.5 for Vanderbilt. And so now, granted, Vanderbilt men playing McNeese men is not the equivalent of Vanderbilt women playing High Point women in terms of that talent gap. But I'm wondering, like, even that sounds, even though it's a 2 against a 15, that sounds like a really, really, really big number for a tournament game. Am I crazy?
No, women's. I actually thought it was going to be in the 40s. To be honest,
and I just say that because, like, whenever
women's and men's are not equivalent.
Yeah, whenever it's I don't know, Michigan versus UMBC or Howard, I believe that's who they're slated against. Like, it's not even though that's Michigan versus a 16, it's not going to get up to 37 points.
Some occasionally you will see, but very rarely. You just do not see the kind of upsets over high seeds in the women's tournament that you do in men's. Yeah. I don't have the numbers in front of me. There are some pretty crazy numbers on that of like upsets of top seeds. And even in the men's game, it was just recently a 16 beat a 1. It was UMBC. That was what, 2 years ago?
20 that was 2023. That was against Virginia.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 2023.
And it doesn't often happen with a 15 over a 2 either, and that's in the men's game. Vanderbilt women's basketball, just looking at the bracket, I don't want to go into detail on any of their matchups yet because right now Vanderbilt is tremendously better than anybody that they are facing in the first 2 rounds. So Vanderbilt women's basketball, if they go out and play a C game, they will be in the Sweet 16 with the talent level that they have.
Yep.
But they could come out and lay an egg like they did in the SEC tournament.
Yeah. Speaking of laying eggs, I know I made the joke, #fire Shea Ralph. Would people get more upset at me if I started a fire Shea Ralph trend than they do with my fire Tim Corbin trend, or would Tim Corbin give me more flack?
It's not even close. It's Tim Corbin.
Okay.
It's just he has like a religious cult following, which I understand.
Yes.
to
Well, I
an
mean,
extent.
we are gladly part of.
Yeah, I get it with the Tim Corbin stuff, but no, Shea Ralph is great. She just doesn't have that religious following yet of Tim Corbin.
Yeah.
If she won a national championship, and then this
Yeah.
campaign began. Certainly.
Yeah. So speaking of fire and Tim Corbin, we're going to basketball.
Yeah, we're actually continuing to men's basketball. But Vanderbilt women's basketball, because I did not state this, plays High Point 2:15 matchup on March 21st. That is Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN News. That will be in Memorial Gym. You can get, I believe, single session tickets for just $30.
Yeah.
And you can also get the entire book for the weekend for just $50. So I know it's in the middle of the men's tournament. I know that's tough. But if you're able, go and support the women's basketball team. But it is in the middle of the men's tournament.
When Vanderbilt could be potentially playing.
I don't know the timing on that one, but
yeah, just potentially, because it would be
it's just
the 21st.
It's just the fact it's in the middle of the men's tournament.
Yeah.
All right, next up, men's basketball. All right, let's start out recapping what Vanderbilt did in the SEC tournament. Then we'll get to the NCAA tournament. So,
Perfect.
Vanderbilt went into the SEC tournament. Let's just take one step back. Going into the SEC tournament, the heavy odds on favorite was Florida. Florida was minus 185 according to BetMGM to win it all. The next closest team in odds to win it all was Arkansas at plus 600. Arkansas, of course, eventually won the tournament over Vanderbilt. But everybody went into the tournament just fully expecting Florida to run away with it.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt in the quarterfinals in their first game of the tournament beat Tennessee for the second time in a row, 75-68. It's a great performance. We're not going to go into each of these individual matchups, really, because there's just a lot of NCAA tournament talk.
And if you're listening to this, you watched all of those games.
Exactly. You're a real sicko like us. Vanderbilt then went on to face the number one overall seed, Florida, in the semifinal. Vanderbilt came out and just obliterated them.
Yep.
Just dominated Florida. I know I said we weren't going to talk about individual performances, but Vanderbilt won 91-74. A.K. Okereke and Devin McLaughlin were incredible for Vanderbilt. They were the ones that ultimately won them that game alongside Jalen Washington. Those guys were just incredible, and that's why Vanderbilt dominated.
Yeah.
That game was never close.
No.
Vanderbilt dominated the whole way through. And then the championship game on Sunday, on Selection Sunday, Vanderbilt takes on John Calipari and Arkansas. Tight game all the way through. The final score doesn't do it justice. Arkansas was unconscious from deep. Shot 63% from behind the arc as a team. Vanderbilt lost 86-75. Runners up in the SEC tournament. Tough loss. You felt it. There was a point when Vanderbilt was up 6 in the second half before Arkansas called a timeout. The crowd was on their feet. You felt it. Arkansas had been hot all game. They were kind of coming back down to earth. You felt like Vanderbilt's about to stomp on their throat and get it going. And then from then on, Arkansas got back on fire. The whole game changed. You're just not going to beat a team that shoots 63% from three, especially when guys that are not true shooters like number 24 in Brazil are just knocking down shots where you have them scouted as short closeout guys and they're just making you pay. And then Acuff is just unconscious as well, hitting some incredibly difficult shots. So I think Arkansas won the SEC championship. Vanderbilt didn't lose the SEC championship. That doesn't make it hurt any less. But Arkansas played incredibly well. They gave Vanderbilt a dose of what they did to Florida.
Yeah, and what Arkansas did here, I'm going to preface this. I told this to Will earlier. I hated that Vanderbilt lost. I hated that Vanderbilt lost to Arkansas. But I would be remiss if I said I did not love watching Darius Acuff play basketball. I left that game more like impressed with Acuff than I was disappointed at Vanderbilt. Like I thought that's how crazy of a performance it was. And I know that we mentioned like you're not going to beat a team when they're shooting 63% from three, especially whenever it's from the guys who aren't shooters are contributing heavily to that too. Like that just is what it is. The biggest takeaway from this game for me is something that we both discussed as well is I love Tyler Tanner. Tyler Tanner is the MVP of this team. Tyler Tanner is an All-American. Darius Acuff lock down the guards.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't be stopped on offense. And that's something that Vanderbilt has really like hung their hat on. And Darius Acuff just put Tyler Tanner in the washing machine.
Darius Acuff is an NBA ready guard. Tyler Tanner is an incredibly good, close to an honorable mention in the AP All-Americans. He's a great college point guard right now.
Yeah.
Can he develop into an NBA point guard? Yes. But right now he's not ready for the next level. This game and every matchup he has had with Acuff this season has shown that. He's just not ready for that physicality combined with that athleticism and speed. And that's what the NBA is full of. That's all it is. Tanner's just a little small right now still. Incredible athlete, incredibly quick. If he could put on 10 pounds, 10 to 15 pounds without messing up his quickness and shooting ability, and then if he could get into that mindset of just taking over games.
Yeah, have a little bit more Scottie Pippen Jr.
I've talked about this with, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the example I used. I've talked about this with my dad, and he's brought it up a lot. There are times when Tyler Tanner will hit a shot, and you're like, okay, he's getting going. And it's like, be more aggressive. Take that shot when you get the sliver of an open look. Take that drive. Not everything has to be as measured. At times, you want to see Tyler Tanner be the superstar he's capable of being.
Yeah.
If Duke Miles does a great job of doing exactly what I'm talking about. When he gets in a rhythm and feels that he can turn the momentum, he does it. He capitalizes to a fault sometimes. But I would love to see a little bit more of that out of Tyler Tanner. He's got to develop overall. But Acuff was incredible. 30 points, 5 of 8 from behind the arc, 11 assists. Acuff won them that game.
Yeah. And Mark Byington and the staff did everything they could to limit Acuff. I don't know if you noticed this, but obviously the guards, Miles and Tanner, were on Acuff. But there was a lot of times to where Mark Byington saw that his backcourt was getting cooked on defense, and he would put Chandler Bing as the primary defender on Darius Acuff, and he tried absolutely everything he could to stop him. But that's just like a different type of athlete that Vanderbilt just doesn't have right now.
If you want to know a summary of Arkansas's shooting performance, there's one play where Acuff is kind of loses the ball or gets the ball knocked out of his hand in the corner. And I don't know if he thought he was getting fouled or if he just didn't have another option, but he kind of tossed up kind of a one-armed falling out of bounds 3 from the corner, and it went in.
Yeah.
That was the kind of game it was from Arkansas. I genuinely think Vanderbilt played a B game. Arkansas just played an A+. You just caught Arkansas in an A+ game, and only an A+ performance was going to beat them.
Yeah.
But you don't get a lot of opportunity. I really did leave not that disappointed. I think me and you shared that same feeling. But the more I thought of it, you don't get a lot of opportunities to change the rafters of Memorial. And the last time you had an opportunity and you did win an SEC championship was 2012. That's 14 years ago. And you had an opportunity. You were right there. You're up 6 points in the second half. So there is a disappointing aspect to that. But now it's time for the real tournament.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts? The Tyler Nickel, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Tyler
That
Nickel
felt really good.
Got going against Arkansas. I know it was in a loss, but that was the number one key that we had going into the SEC tournament was we needed to see Tyler Nickel break out of his slump.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because transitioning to March Madness, the only other takeaway I have from this game going into the tournament is, yes, Vanderbilt lost, but there was nothing from that game to where I looked at it and thought this is something that can be used to exploit Vanderbilt in the tournament. Like, this is going to be a problem in the tournament. In fact, using Tyler Nickel as an example, I felt like it was a little bit of an opposite. Obviously, don't get me wrong. A.K. Okereke, he was a bricklayer that game. He was a construction worker. That's not the A.K. Okereke that played the night before, and I don't think that's an A.K. Okereke that we have to worry about in the tournament. But the positive is I loved what I saw from Tyler Nickel. It seemed like he got that confidence back. It seemed like he got that stroke back, and he was taking shots and being much more aggressive with the ball. That, to me, is such a huge takeaway from this game that can be translated into March Madness in terms of positivity.
Yeah, Tyler Nickel with 19 points, tied with Duke Miles for the team's leading scorer. Nickel was 7 of 12, 5 of 7 from 3. Definitely got back in rhythm, had 9 rebounds, was 1 away from a double-double. That is it for the SEC tournament. Anybody that says that conference championships don't matter, I think you're missing the point of sports, and specifically college athletics. It's not all national championship or bust. That's what makes college athletics special.
Yeah.
Is individual matchups matter a lot more than they do in the pros. Individual awards during the season matter a lot more than they do in the pros. And the NBA is trying to do some weird bastardized version of that with the in-season, middle of the season tournament.
Yeah.
Like they do in college basketball with like the Battle for Atlantis and all that stuff. Whatever. It's not going to work in the pros. But in college, there is some pride aspect to that. And there's history. And so it does suck that Vanderbilt was right there with the opportunity to do it. But now it's time to turn your eyes to March Madness and the real tournament that matters. And Vanderbilt fans are desperate for a victory in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Was the last victory 2012? 2012?
Yeah, the 2012 March Madness. It was against Harvard. Vanderbilt beat Harvard in the round of 64 in New Mexico at the Pit. No, in Albuquerque. Yeah, Albuquerque, New Mexico at the Pit. Then they played number 4 Wisconsin and that Frank Kaminsky team. I believe that was Frank Kaminsky, and just shattered my heart into a million pieces. Was I right? Was it Harvard?
I still haven't found it.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. I'm taking your word for it. You're better than any AI or Google search on the history books. If anybody can correct us, please do in the comments. This is why we need a producer. They can fact check us quickly. Where's our producer? She's licking her paw over there on the
cleaning
recliner.
her toe beans.
Whatever.
What an idiot.
I think. Okay, before I get any thoughts out there, I'm just going to give the facts because I have a lot of thoughts about the upcoming NCAA tournament. I think you do too. Vanderbilt is a 5 seed in the South region. They are going to be playing McNeese on Thursday at 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time on True TV. They are in the same region as Florida. So interesting decision by the committee to potentially have a Sweet 16 matchup that just happened in the conference tournament, especially when you have an entire region of the NCAA tournament bracket that has 0 SEC teams in it. Some weird stuff with the layout of the tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever. That's something I can get into in a second. But in their same, it's not a quad. I guess it is a quad. What would you call it? In their same group.
Region?
Yeah, it's not a region because it's the South region. But within their same group within that region.
Oh.
Vanderbilt has number 4 seed Nebraska. And Nebraska is playing number 13 seed Troy. So those are the teams that we're going to focus on in this discussion about the bracket and about the NCAA tournament. But I want to start out with Vanderbilt being a 5 seed. Number 1, Vanderbilt selected on Sunday as a 5 seed in the South region in the NCAA tournament. Number 1, I like the draw. I do like the draw. Just take a step back, not looking at seeding. McNeese is a solid team. I don't hate the matchup against McNeese. Nebraska, as the only remaining, I believe, high major program that has not won an NCAA tournament game. I don't hate that. Troy, number 125, I believe, in the NCAA net. Not super impressed with Troy, so I expect Vanderbilt to be playing Nebraska. We'll see if the curse continues for them. But Vanderbilt is a 5 seed. Unequivocally, indisputably makes no sense. And I put out a tweet because I initially had the take when Vanderbilt was announced as a 5 seed. I initially had the take of, well, a 4 and a 5 seed are basically the same thing because it's just the initial first round matchup. You're playing a 12 seed versus a 13 seed, but you play the same team in the second round. And then eventually in the Sweet 16, you play the 1 seed regardless. So what does it really matter? Then it started to fester. And overnight, it started to eat at me and eat at me and eat at me a little bit more. The next morning, I woke up extremely angry about Vanderbilt being a 5 seed. It makes no sense. There is 0. I mean this literally. There are 0 metrics that would put Vanderbilt anything lower than a 4 seed. Vanderbilt is closer to a 3 seed than they are to a 5 seed. These are the metrics that I found the morning after. They shifted slightly for some reason the morning after, but this is what I tweeted out. Vanderbilt got absolutely screwed as a 5 seed. Not one resume metric validates anything less than a 4. NCAA net, 13th. KenPom, 12th. Torvik, 10th. Strength of record, 7th. KPI, 8th. BPI, 14th. Wins above bubble, supposedly very important new metric this year. Very highly emphasized new metric this year. Vanderbilt's 10th in the country in that metric. I think Vanderbilt was decided. It was decided Vanderbilt was going to be a 5 seed unless they won the SEC tournament before the tournament ever began.
Yep, Vanderbilt was slated in that spot.
It was a waste of time for Vanderbilt to participate in the NCAA tournament. There was a great screenshot tweeted out the night of the selection show that showed Vanderbilt's resume against the other resumes of 4 seeds. And I'm just going to read through that. And this is actually has Vanderbilt a little bit higher. I already read off the metrics for Vanderbilt. Nebraska's. I'm just going to read off KPI. I don't know the best way to do this, but Vanderbilt, Nebraska, Arkansas, Alabama, Kansas. Those are the teams. Those are the 4 seeds, and Vanderbilt, who's a 5. KPI, Nebraska, 20, Arkansas, 19, Bama, 12, Kansas, 11, Vanderbilt, 8. Strength of record, Nebraska, 9, Arkansas, 10, Bama, 15, Kansas, 18, Vanderbilt, 7. Wins above bubble, Vanderbilt, 9th, Nebraska, 12th, Arkansas, 15th, Bama, 14th, Kansas, 16th. I'll keep going here. I'm not going to read off the team names. Vanderbilt, 14th in BPI. The rest of them, 17th, 19th, 15th, 21st. KPI, Vanderbilt, 11th. The rest of them, 14th, 18th, 17th, 21st. Q1 record, Vanderbilt is 5-4 with the best win percentage in Q1A games. However, I will say Kansas has 6 Q1A wins. Vanderbilt with the most Q1 wins overall with 10. Nobody else has double digits. The point I am making is it's not just, there are a lot of metrics that Vanderbilt, leads a couple of these 4 seeds in. If you put blind resumes up of Vanderbilt against all the other 4 seeds, it would be indisputable that Vanderbilt would be the highest 4 seed you would place. It wouldn't even be a thought. Their metrics are above everyone. It wouldn't even be a thought. I don't even know how they came to the conclusion Vanderbilt could possibly be a 5 seed. Just based on metrics, because supposedly the last 10 don't count anymore.
Yeah.
It should just be metric based. So what are, and for some reason, Arkansas fans took this as an attack on them. I think Arkansas is a fair 4.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas deserves to be a 4 seed. It's really Bama.
It's Alabama's
and Nebraska.
Not Alabama and Nebraska
I
not
don't
4s.
get at all. And Nebraska fans could potentially clip this, and it could look really bad if they beat Vanderbilt in the round of 32. But based on the metrics, I don't get it.
Yeah.
If somebody can just unbiased find me a metric that explains why Vanderbilt is a 5 seed over these teams, please show it to me, because I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going insane in my leprechaun shirt.
Man, that's what I love about quantitative data. Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. And the numbers don't lie. Vanderbilt should be a 4 seed.
Like I said, closer to a 3 seed than a 5 seed. Almost universally, Vanderbilt was a 4 seed across every bracketologist. Yeah. CBS Sports has done a great job carrying the torch, calling this a miss across the board. They had Vanderbilt slotted as a 3 seed.
Yeah.
They just couldn't understand why that was happening. Did a great job pointing that out. But that's enough bitching and moaning, unless you have some more bitching and moaning you want to do for a sec.
The only bitching and moaning I want to do is, so historically over the past predominantly 5 years, the NCAA committee has more and more incorporated KenPom into their decision making. And so if you go on KenPom, you can see like the top, I think 132 teams. He has all of them listed from best to worst. And over the past 5 years, I ran a little statistical model to see how accurate KenPom's overall ratings were with the overall seeding of the NCAA Tournament Committee. And I found that over the past 5 years, KenPom in terms of seeding had like an 83% hit rate, which is incredibly, that is like, doesn't make sense in any other realm unless you come to the conclusion, okay, they're using KenPom. And so I just wanted to say that in terms of how this was a miss with the NCAA committee, because like you said, Vanderbilt, according to Ken Palm, which is universally the most trusted metric or statistician whenever it comes to college basketball, had them as a top 4 seed.
I don't get it because
And so what that tells me is they're like, okay, the metrics say they should be this. In Vanderbilt's case, we're probably just not going to listen to the metrics.
I generally think the March Madness selection committee, the NCAA selection committee for the NCAA tournament in basketball, is generally pretty good. Like, there seem to be relatively, if they state these are the metrics we're going to be shifting towards, they tend to stick with that.
Yeah.
And there are occasionally different location things they'll do that'll make no sense, but those are generally very edge teams on seed lines, not teams like Vanderbilt that were like the best metric team as a 4 seed. I saw that brought up too.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but you don't do that when that team has the best metrics of any of the 4 seeds.
Yeah.
Because you could just swap them in Nebraska and it would make more sense.
Yep.
There's the 2 metrics that supposedly are the most important to the committee: the NCAA net rankings, which the NCAA
It's supposed to be king.
puts out.
Yeah.
That's king. Vanderbilt's 13th. 13th. That's a 4 seed. In the wins above bubble, which is this new metric the NCAA's come out with, it's sexy. That's the new sexy metric, is the wins above bubble. Vanderbilt's 10th. That's a 3 seed. Somehow Vanderbilt's a 5 seed. That's the part I just can't. And you can do that for any of the metrics. Just go down the list. It doesn't matter if it's Ken Palm to Torvik to anything. I can't find one metric that makes Vanderbilt a 5 seed. That's it for the bitching and moaning on that part. Now time to evaluate the matchup that's actually on the horizon. The seeds are done. They're not changing those. So Vanderbilt's got to play who is in front of them. And the reason that this is an issue, now that we're about to talk about McNeese is a way better team than Troy. There's a big difference between the 12 seed and the 13 seed. That's why the 12-5 is a very sexy upset pick.
Yeah.
And why it happens, because a 12 seed is typically the best of the mid-major conference champions.
Yep.
The best of them. So the difference in Vanderbilt getting, because some people would say, oh, it's basically the same thing. Well, the difference in Vanderbilt playing McNeese is 56th in the NCAA net rankings. Troy is number 125. That's the difference in a team that would make the NCAA tournament if you seeded it 1 through 68 versus a team that's only in the tournament because they won their conference championship. That's a big difference in quality of opponent in the first round.
Yeah.
So that's the issue with it. But regardless, Vanderbilt has to win the first round matchup. McNeese, led by Larry Johnson at guard, leading scorer 17.5 points per game, not a shooter. He is a shot creator, a scorer, but he's not a shooter. Shooting 24.2% from 3. Now moving on to McNeese's shooters. That is going to be Tyshawn Archie, their second leading scorer, averaging 14.3 points per game, 37.4% from behind the arc. Previously, he played at Tulsa the last 2 years alongside DJ Richards. DJ Richards is McNeese's 3-point specialist. He shot 210 total shots all season. 166 of those have been threes. He has made 59 threes. He's only made 78 shots all season. He's only made 19 two-pointers the entire year. So Vanderbilt needs to key on those 2 guys from behind the arc. On the interior, they've got a couple big guys, but McNeese is not a size-heavy team. In fact, they really struggle against teams offensive rebounding the basketball. A lot of that due to the Havoc defense. Is not the official name, but something Trevor called it that I think we're going to utilize for the type of defense McNeese runs. Jarrell Colbert on the inside, 6'10", 235 pounds, number 7, a guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, only has like a 14% offensive rebound rate this regular season. So not good.
The one thing I want to point out, and everybody's going to get real mad at this.
Oh, don't say it.
But I've got to say it because it's true. McNeese is not a 3-point shooting team. I'm not even saying they're not a good 3-point shooting team. They're not. But they are not a 3-point shooting team. I know that they're going to now shoot 60% and be the story of round 1.
Maybe it's different since you're saying it instead of me.
I've said it and it still occurred. But
okay, well then you You just lost us 64.
Unfortunately, as a team, McNeese is shooting 31.6% from behind the arc. It's 299th in the country. There are 365 Division I basketball teams. They're in the bottom 70. Points distribution, a very interesting stat that you can see how a team plays, how their offense functions. McNeese is only scoring 25.6% of their points from behind the arc. That's 318th in the country. Vanderbilt, for example, they're not a heavy three-point shooting team. Vanderbilt is scoring 33% of their points from behind the arc. That's 136th in the country. So for comparison, that's a big gap. Now, what McNeese does well, McNeese forces you into long offensive possessions, and that's due to the aggressive defensive style that they play with.
Yeah.
And they force you into turnovers. McNeese is averaging forcing opponents into 19.2 seconds per possession. That is literally the longest possessions in the country. 365 out of 365. McNeese also really, really impressive team defensively. They are number one in the country in steal percentage as a percentage of possessions. They steal 15 of possession. They create steals on 15.3% of possessions, and they create blocks on 15.8% of possessions. That's fourth in the country. They are a top 5 defense at creating havoc. And I think there was like a havoc metric that went around Twitter years ago or something like that. I think McNeese would rank very highly in that metric.
Yeah.
Now, what they don't do well because of that aggressive defense, they do not rebound the ball well defensively. They are near the bottom of the country, 339th in the country in offensive rebound percentage given up. They are giving up offensive rebounds in almost 35% of possessions. I know that's not Vanderbilt's strength, but that is something Vanderbilt's going to have to capitalize on. Vanderbilt's not a horrible offensive rebounding team. They average about 31.2% of possessions. They're picking up an offensive rebound that's 159th in the country. Vanderbilt's going to have to capitalize on that. I know it's not their strength. They're going to have to not turn the ball over and rebound on offense. The good thing is Vanderbilt doesn't turn the ball over very much. Vanderbilt as an offense only turns the ball over on 7.2% of offensive possessions. That is top 10 in the entire country, number 9 in the country. So that is a quick breakdown of McNeese. What conference are they in? I can't believe that. Is it the Horizon? That's wrong.
It's not the Patriot League, is it?
I should have looked that up.
I don't think that's right either.
They are in the Southland Conference.
Southland.
Yes.
Yes, the famous Southland
McNeese
Conference.
finished up the season 28-5, 19-3 in conference. They finished up the season hot, won 10 games to close out the season, and then, of course, ran through the tournament. So, Trevor, that's the breakdown of McNeese. Vanderbilt currently an 11.5-point favorite, according to all the sports books, but BetMGM specifically. How are you feeling about the matchup against McNeese?
I know it's a classic 5-12, and this is a good McNeese team. However, I do feel good about Vanderbilt going into this game. A lot of what you said. With the way that McNeese plays defense, particularly from their guards and forcing those turnovers and forcing ball handlers into bad situations, in a sense, I think that could work to Vanderbilt's advantage because I trust the guard play of Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles so much. So if somebody wants to get real aggressive with them, especially guys who are a lot less athletic, or not as athletic as Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner, I think that could give them opportunities to create shots and to allow them to create some plays for the bigs down low. I think that could play into Vanderbilt's advantage. And just additionally too, man, this is a good McNeese team. However, ultimately, I think how McNeese's defense works, especially when creating that havoc, is it's going up against lesser competition, particularly whenever it comes to that guard play. And I think even if Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles were a little bit more prone to turnovers, I still don't think those athletes of McNeese can match up to the athletes of Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner as well. And then let's say they just want to get crazy and start pressing, and like, how does somebody of that athleticism stop somebody like AK Okiriki taking up the ball?
Yeah, I think it could go either way. It's a classic 5-12. And McNeese, of course, last year made a run. And you had what's his name? Amir
Khan.
Dweeb. But he's back apparently at McNeese. I thought he transferred schools.
I thought he graduated.
Whatever. I don't know what's going on with that. I will say this is obviously Vanderbilt's not at the level of Michigan. This McNeese team did play Michigan earlier in the year. Michigan put up 112 points on them. This is an interesting defense. It's a different, like Tennessee is a great defensive basketball team. That is a radically different defense than what McNeese plays. McNeese,
it's just 5 dudes face guarding you.
Yeah,
it's 5-man face guard defense. Even
I don't want to
dudes
say,
who aren't on ball.
I don't want to say undisciplined. That's the wrong word. But it's not defense that just chokes you like a snake and you just can't get a look. It's they speed you up, get you in positions you don't want to get, force you into bad shots.
Mm-hmm.
They speed you up and slow you down at the same time with their pressure.
Yeah.
So that's the oxymoron of this McNeese defense. But if you can find a rhythm, you can put up a lot of points against this defense if you're a quality team. They didn't have an incredibly high quality out-of-conference schedule. They lost to Santa Clara, of course, I believe is an NCAA tournament team.
Yep, against Kentucky.
Yep.
They're a 10 seed.
Yep, really good team. They lost to them. They lost to Michigan. Kind of hard to judge. This is a good team. They're a good. It's a good McNeese team. I personally am still picking Vanderbilt. I'm not that nervous. I like the draw, if you're going to be completely honest. So I'm going with Vanderbilt. I think the line is about right. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to necessarily blow them out of the water, but I think eventually Vanderbilt goes on a run and wins by between 10 to 15 points. And I think they win relatively comfortably by the end, but it's not some comfortable cruise towards victory. That's my prediction for the game.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm there with you. I think Vanderbilt does probably go wire to wire or really close to wire to wire.
So this is a big assumption. It's a tough matchup against McNeese. We just broke down McNeese. Next up, assuming everything goes chalk, and that's a huge assumption in the NCAA tournament, Vanderbilt would be potentially facing Nebraska. And this is the last potential opponent we will talk about because there will be another episode of TDR if Vanderbilt was able to advance to the Sweet 16.
Old Fred Hoiberg.
Nebraska. Very different team than McNeese. You know how I said McNeese is not a shooting team? Nebraska is a 3-point shooting team. That is what they do. So the opposite of what we said of a lot of teams recently. So the opposite of McNeese, 40.9% of Nebraska's points come from behind the 3-point line. That's 12th in the country. So a way higher percentage than even Vanderbilt's. They don't play a lot of guys off the bench. They have a tight rotation, 322nd in the country in bench minutes. They play relatively slow, force you into long offensive possessions. In that way, they're similar to McNeese, but in a different way. They're more the traditional choke you out kind of slow possession defense. So not going to go incredibly deep into Nebraska as I did into McNeese because, of course, there's dominoes that have to fall for Vanderbilt to actually face Nebraska. But we will have previews up on thedoreport.com if Vanderbilt is to advance. So do you have anything on Nebraska? It's fine if not.
Nothing as of I've actually haven't watched a ton of Nebraska. I watched them almost choke away to Ohio State, but I don't know much about Nebraska.
Yeah. Nebraska, like I mentioned, it's an incredible stat because it's just something you don't think about. Nebraska's never won an NCAA tournament basketball game. The only high major program to have never done that. And I'm not shitting on it because Vanderbilt football's been on those lists before. And I'm not
Vanderbilt basketball. Do you remember against Northwestern whenever Vanderbilt gave Northwestern their first ever NCAA tournament win? I know we're not playing them in the round of 64, but we have been in that.
Yeah.
We have been in that boat.
Yes. But yeah, that's a pretty crazy stat in and of itself. They don't have that Japanese kid that's a shooter anymore. I will say that. He was
awesome.
electric.
I love that
guy. That is it. The one last thing I want to say generally about the NCAA tournament is, or not one, two last things. Number one, this is the best event in all of sports. It's one of the only things if not the only thing, one of the only things. I would say the opening day of college football Saturday also doesn't disappoint ever.
Mm-hmm.
There are many things in adult life that every year you look forward to them. And even if they're extremely enjoyable, they're just not as great as you remember. Every year, they just slightly disappoint and they're slightly worse. And that's just getting older. Just things are just not as good as you remember. And that's where the nostalgia factor comes in, all that stuff. March Madness is not that.
Yeah.
Every single year I build it up in my mind. It doesn't matter if there's not a lot of buzzer beaters. It doesn't matter if it's not the most upsets. It's always incredible.
Yeah.
Every year that opening game kicks off on Thursday, opening game tips off, and it starts, and it's electric.
Yep.
And I transport back, and I'm all of a sudden 13 years old watching basketball again, and it's incredible.
Yep.
So this is an incredible time of the year. Soak it all in.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say, there's something broken in the NCAA tournament severely. And anybody that's a fan of one of these teams that participates in the first four, you're welcome to reach out and disagree. Teams that won their conference tournament should absolutely not be playing in the first four of the NCAA tournament. 16 seeds should not have to play in for the right to play in the real first round of the NCAA tournament. I know we've changed what the first round is, but that's the real first round, is the round of 64. Those teams have earned their spot.
Mm-hmm.
They should not have to play in a play-in game.
Yep.
It should be the last 8 teams, the last 8 at-large teams should be the teams that play in the first 4 games. Not teams that have earned their spot in the NCAA tournament by winning their conference tournament. That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the only reason I say if you're a fan of one of those teams that's a 16 seed like UMBC or Howard that's playing tonight, there is a side that you do technically get an NCAA tournament win or a chance at a realistic NCAA tournament win as a 16 seed. That's the only side of it, and you get a lot of eyes on your program on those opening first 4 matchups. But I stand by my original statement. That's broken.
Yeah, I agree with that.
100% broken. I don't know why there isn't a larger outcry for this. Why are these teams being punished? Why are they being punished for winning their conference tournament and the committee going, yes, you won your conference tournament. You don't deserve to be in, though. You have to play in a first 4 play-in game like these other teams that were the last 4 teams in the tournament. You also don't get to participate in the full thing. Why?
TV ratings, brother.
But it would also be better for TV ratings if it was big brands and not 16 seeds. Nothing about this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about this a lot, and I'm pretty passionate about it. I feel like we can make this change. We can make it happen, guys. I believe in us.
I don't know, dude. The system's so broken. The little man can never win until we take matters into our own hands. But now we must bow to our overlords in Indianapolis at the NCAA headquarters.
Viva la revolution!
Sensei, fucking Viva la revolution! God, I love them. Oh, me and we'll watch the Oscars together. One battle after another. Great film. Also,
Timothée Chalamet robbed. Should have won Best Actor. I love Michael B. Jordan. That movie was not carried by Michael B. Jordan. Timothée Chalamet absolutely carried a movie about ping pong in the 50s. Holy shit. Robbed. And also, ballet does suck and it's dying.
I don't disagree with any of those takes. I would have said Leo one battle after another. That's just me personally.
The ballet and opera community got mad.
Yes.
It was as
well,
if,
and did you know that clip was also like 6 or 7
that would
years old?
That would be like saying I saw a tweet that was kind of worded like this. That would be like saying old school gospel music is dying. There's just not as much old school gospel music being released and people getting mad at that. It is. Ballets operate as nonprofits. They have to beg donors and sponsors at galas and events to donate money because they lose money. Timothée Chalamet simply said, I don't want the cinema experience to become that. The theater going experience to become we have to beg donors. Jesus Christ. It's whatever. Ballet sucks. And so does the opera.
I was gonna ask a question. I'm not gonna ask a question.
What was the question going to be, Trevor?
I was just gonna ask if you've been to a lot of ballets.
Maybe. I bet.
Do you regret your time going to those ballets?
No. The what is with the movie Jesus Christ with Jim Carrey?
Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, baby. That's how I live my life. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. I guarantee, if anybody listening right now, I have attended more ballets than any of you. So I get to say that.
Yeah. Speaking of movies, I did see the new Ryan Gosling flick, Project Hail Mary, last night. Got a ticket to an early screening.
Heard good things.
Fan freaking tastic. Already my favorite movie of 2026.
All right, moving on from movies. Now it's time for baseball. And this is going to be pretty quick before we get to the TDR cocktail break, just because we've talked so much about basketball. Baseball. As we were recording last week, Vanderbilt was taking on Indiana State. Excuse me as I burp. Vanderbilt was taking on Indiana State. Vanderbilt won that game 14-6. I don't know if we updated that live as it was happening.
I think we did.
Whatever. Vanderbilt won that 14-6. And we kind of ominously said, and coming up this weekend, SEC baseball play starts. SEC opening weekend. Vanderbilt takes on number 13 LSU in the Hawk. And you had a lot of concerns about Vanderbilt baseball making the postseason. And that got some negative feedback. Tim Corbin and the VandyBoys came out and won the series against LSU. Shout out to them. Game 1, Vanderbilt won 13-12. Game 2, Vanderbilt won 11-3. Vanderbilt won game 1 in walkout fashion, by the way. It was awesome. And on Sunday, Vanderbilt did lose 16-9. So Vanderbilt won the series against LSU, a great way to start SEC play. Moved Vanderbilt to 13-8 overall, 2-1, of course, in conference play. I saw people taking victory laps over you after Vanderbilt won that series against LSU.
They did indeed. A guy took a victory lap at me at the Hawk Saturday. I was at the game.
The reason I bring that up is the fact we talked about this before the podcast. The fact people are taking victory laps around you over a home series victory over the good team, number 13 team in the country, but not the number 1 team, a top 15 team, a victory lap over a 2-1 home series victory. That should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point. All of this has been skewed and exaggerated on all of these. At the core of what the statement was from you is the expectations have been tremendously lowered.
Yeah.
And you're not willing to lower your expectations.
Yeah. If people want to lower their expectations, that's fine. But I will not. And then don't lie to me and say you haven't lowered your expectations. Yeah. But like going on that note and just continuing with the series this weekend, there was a guy at the Hawk, like I said, who I was getting up to go take a leak, and he was like, he yelled, he goes, "Trevor, you doubted this team." And I responded with, I'm going to be honest, man. I still doubt this team. And that says Vanderbilt was up 8-1. I hope I'm wrong. Like, I don't want to be right whenever it comes to the downfall of Vanderbilt baseball. And like, I don't want to be right whenever Tim Corbin gets fired, if he gets fired. So I say that because I think we look at this LSU series right now, and yes, it is good to get a series win against a top 15 opponent at your home ballpark. That's good, but that's also expected. But I think, man, in a month or two, we're going to look back at this series and we're going to be like, yeah, LSU was not a good baseball team. This was a team that started number 2 in the nation and has free fall to number 13. This is not the team that Baseball America or D1 Baseball thought they were going to be. So, yes, am I happy about the series win? Yes. Am I willing to say that I think this team is a postseason team and I'm changing my tune? No, because you still saw really, really bad parts of baseball at Vanderbilt, specifically when it comes to the pitching. And the pitching's not getting any better, and that rotation isn't getting any healthier, and that bullpen's not getting any healthier. That's a real problem. And even though it was a series win, I looked at that and said, wow, this is going to rear its ugly head to bite Vanderbilt. So I'm glad they got a series win. And then you know what they did? They had a midweek game against Indiana and shit down their leg. So
yeah, Vanderbilt just lost 5-1 to Indiana. Of course, midweeks not always the most important. But when you're a team struggling, that loss to Indiana moves Vanderbilt to 13-9. It's a lot more baseball to be played, and up next for Vanderbilt doesn't get any easier on the road against number 6 Mississippi State. They play Friday, the 20th of March at 7 p.m. That will be on SEC Network. Saturday, the 21st at 6 p.m. on SEC Network Plus, and Sunday, the 22nd at 1 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. And then I think we're recording Monday, so this will happen after. But Vanderbilt takes on Tennessee Tech on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Wings up Matt Whitcomb's former team, former squad. But yeah, I think baseball, it's the same problems. I'm just not willing to adjust anything because where we differed was nothing. It's just I agreed with you. Vanderbilt baseball fans have just lowered their expectations.
Yeah.
Which is fine or not fine, depending on the side of the spectrum you fall on. I'm more on the side, as long as Tim Corbin doesn't completely fall off a cliff for multiple years, that I'm allowing him to retire when he wants to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a point you can get to for me. We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
But the idea that Vanderbilt baseball is just what Vanderbilt baseball was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, they're just not. And there's still argument about that. That was all your.
That's what makes me crazy.
That was what all this spiraled from was. You need to take a look in the mirror, and Vanderbilt baseball is not what it was. And programs don't do that enough. I think Kentucky basketball is having that moment. I think there are other programs that are having that in football. Clemson, you could even say Alabama to an extent, is having that moment to a lesser extent than Vanderbilt baseball. But in the new era, the VandyBoys are not what the VandyBoys were. So if you're taking a victory lap that Vanderbilt baseball is back after one series victory over LSU at home. Now, if they go on the road and get a series victory over Mississippi State, and then continue to have success, then it's maybe time to rehash that discussion. But one series victory at home is not going to do it for me.
Yeah. So for people taking a victory lap, I still stand by my statement. I think this team sucks. This is not a good baseball team.
And I still stand by. They don't suck. They're just a 2 or 3 seed. Most likely a low 2, high 3.
Yeah. I'm going to have to see a lot more before I believe this is a playoff team. It's just, Their issues are similar issues to basketball. We said, what are the issues with basketball? And it was the size. And the issue with that is you can't get bigger during the middle of the season. Vanderbilt's bullpen is the same thing. They just stink. And your bullpen in college baseball cannot drastically improve as the season progresses. So the issues are the issues, and they're not getting fixed. And so I think the issues have been so bad that I'm not a believer that this is a postseason team.
Justifiable take. All right, we have run through football, women's basketball, men's basketball, and baseball. It is now time for everyone out there to grab themselves a delicious hot or cold beverage, and we will be right back after the TDR cocktail break for premium message board questions. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 358. All we have left up on the docket is premium message board questions. Subscribe to thedorreport.com today. There is a special going on, 50% off annual membership, plus you receive a complimentary year of The Athletic. So you can subscribe today for just $59.99 for a full year of access to thedorreport.com as well as on3.com premium articles. So that's going to cover everything. The best all-encompassing recruiting coverage, transfer portal coverage, basketball transfer portal is, when does that open? 18? It's soon.
Yes, I think it's tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, today when you're listening.
Best national transfer and recruiting coverage in the country. You can get access to that for $60 for the entire year, on top of getting access to the premium message board, where you can ask fun and interesting questions and get me and Trevor's responses, as well as there's just a lot of great conversations going on the message board. Stuff you just can't have the discussion about on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because
you get bombarded from some other fan base.
Yeah, it's just on here you can actually discuss, these are the metrics. This is where it's a discrepancy in the selection committee's process. And you don't have Arkansas fans coming in the comments saying, maybe you shouldn't have lost in the SEC tournament. It's like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get that. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but congratulations. You beat Vanderbilt. You don't have that. It's a great place for inside scoops on everything. Colin has been doing a great job. If you're a fan of one of the niche sports, if you're a fan of women's volleyball, if you're a fan of women's basketball, if you're a diehard VandyBoys fan, subscribe to the doorreport.com. That's my pitch.
Yes.
Help us out. All right. As well as I will have a practice report on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. First up from the man himself, Peter Porker 714. How do I cure my depression from the Sunday of sadness? Watch basketball.
Yeah, either that or SSRIs. Or NSRIs, whichever helps you the best.
Dude, it was a tough Sunday. I get it. That's when I posted this for the Q&A. It's hard to bring me down when the Vanderbilt Commodores are in the NCAA Tournament and March Madness is starting.
Totally agree.
I mean, just block out all the other disasters going on in your life. The troubles you're having with relationships, the troubles with your job. Put those to the side.
Yeah.
You don't need to think
they
about those.
don't matter.
Tune in to CBS, True TV, TNT, TBS. Forget about your problems.
True TV Awareness Month.
They don't matter right now. It's March Madness. That's what matters. That's the cure to the Sunday sadness.
Don't pay your bills.
Job? What's a
Don't
job?
go to your job.
Career, responsibilities.
Don't take care of your family.
Fuck it.
It's all about
Madness,
March.
baby. For 4 days. For 4 days. It's just beautiful. That's all you have to think about.
Good.
All right, next up, yet another door lawyer. 5 is an absolute criminal underseed, but here we are, pumped for the opportunity nonetheless. Random question. Noticed during the tournament that because it was the SEC tourney, the actual ball used was a Wilson ball instead of our normal Nike game ball. This may be a dumb question, but I'm curious if that makes a difference / is something teams have to adjust to. So I 100% have an answer, but
do not get me. So that's not a dumb question. To answer your question, the NCAA and the conferences have a deal with Wilson to use their balls. Teams are not allowed to use the basketballs that are provided by their brand deals. So going into the tournament, there will also be a Wilson ball used. Does it impact the play? 1 billion %. Every single NCAA tournament, they use I believe it's a Wilson Evo, EVO basketball. They are never broken in. They are a totally new material, like synthetic design that Wilson is doing. They are overinflated. I'm telling you, every single March Madness, I promise you, for as long as I can remember, 3-point percentage has been down. Overall shooting has been down because these teams are having to get used to this ball that they've never played with. And it 1,000% impacts team performance in conference tournaments as well as March Madness. There's a ton of data that you can find online showing like how the specific Wilson ball that's utilized in conference tournaments impact shooting teams.
So I don't know about the specific ball that you're referencing. I know they're always overinflated.
Yes.
Always overinflated.
And they're not broken in because they're so orange.
It's
like it should be closer to a
thing.
brown texture, but it's fresh out the box.
I will say in high school, the golden standard in high school basketball, it's funny because every school has different game balls that they use. But the golden standard was the Wilson Evolution. That's the best game ball. That's what my high school had stocked. That was the best game ball way back in the day. 2011 through 2015. Good
Yeah.
God.
Whenever
I'm
I
old.
was in high school, it was always the Wilson evolution.
Yeah, that was the best basketball.
Now the second nicest was, I forget what the model was, but the Nike ball that was
number 2.
and then always the Spalding balls were just worn to hell and back, which is crazy because Spalding makes the nicest basketball.
I've also been seeing some discussion on Twitter. There's been a lot of discussion on Twitter. This is getting off topic, but it's premium message board questions, so we get to be off topic even more than normal. There's been a lot of discussion about inflation. There is a lot of inflation
in the
on.
balls.
There was one specific post I saw about inflation of sporting equipment, and that's a widespread thing, and that is true, and that is happening across the board. However, there was one specific post that talked about basketballs, and it was saying a basketball is $105 now. A basketball is $120 now. They were showing game balls, like Wilson Evolution level basketballs. Okay, that is more than they used to be. Do not get me wrong. I don't think there's an understanding of people widely enough, because it really exposes who has never just played any form of basketball. There are indoor and outdoor basketballs.
Mm-hmm.
The indoor basketballs are extremely more expensive and always have been.
Yeah.
$20 basketballs still do exist.
Yeah.
They do. Now, the $105 for Wilson Evolution has gone up. Those used to be like 80 or 60. Yeah. I can't remember, but that has gone up. But there's a difference in indoor and outdoor basketballs. They feel completely different. And yes, the quality of basketball makes a massive difference in your ability to shoot and score. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. I haven't seen the stats on tracking that.
I'm actually going to respond on because there's every year I love to follow like how teams are shooting and their effective field goal and their true shooting percentage, because they're using this ball that they've not used all season long.
Next up, I think we might need to take a drink before this. You sip your Diet Coke.
Okay.
From Bobby Joe. This is painful to write. My youngest son is in elementary school, and through a combination of youthful rebellion and peer pressure from his classmates, he has decided that he is now a Vols fan.
Oh, no.
His friends showered him with UT Junior hats and T-shirts at his birthday party last month.
Oh, gosh.
Let's take a moment. Just a moment.
How old is this kid? Elementary school?
Elementary school age.
Oh, God.
Bobby Joe, this is tough. There's the age-old question that I don't know if I should repeat on this podcast. This might be the third option in that age-old question that I won't repeat. My wife and I disagree on how to handle this. I think we should let him go through his phase and get bored with it, and that trying to force Vandy fandom on him is going to backfire. Kids his age like winning teams, so he'll be back on the Vandy bandwagon before too long. She thinks we need to nip this in the bud. She's already losing his Vols shirts during laundry day and promising him Dairy Queen stops when he wears his Doors gear. As potential parents yourselves, what's the move here?
I'm team mom.
But it's not. No. But it's not. He's arguing it's not. It's a more complex question. I want to initially be team mom, of course. He's playing the long game here. He's talking about lifetime fandom. Okay. But there is a complex dynamic between youth rebellion and the parent smothering it and it making the kid want to do it more.
No, and that's very true in the developmental stage, but not this young. That's my thing, is if he's still in elementary school, he's not to the point to where he's in those youthful rebellion years that we would consider like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Like, he still appears to be moldable. And I think being a good parent is whenever you see your kid doing wrong, correcting them and molding them into better citizens who can contribute to society. Therefore, I think the mother's more stern hand approach of nipping in the bud is better. Because as we know, we used to be kids ourselves not too long ago. And I remember that whenever my mother and father would try and nip something in the bud, I'm like, oh, they're so dumb. They don't know what they're doing. Now I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm thankful for the stern nipping in the bud I got. I think your son will be the same way.
It's something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
No.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer at this point. I think it's in the hands of the seven gods. Been watching too much Game of Thrones. That's brutal. I just can't even. I know I was a first child. I just can't even fathom that there was no that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Whatever. It's a tough spot to be in. And I Trevor, you're the doctor. So
I'm not a doctor yet. Do not take anything I just said as medical advice or advice offered by a clinician of any type. That is not at all
everything
what just
here
happened.
Is hypothetical.
This is all satire.
Yep.
But I have thought about like it. If I ever have kids, I'm like, what if my kid is a Vol fan? And I don't know if I could love my kid because then my kid is everything that I hate and that I think is wrong with the world. Like my child immediately becomes the embodiment of evil. And then could I truly be the father of something that evil? Is that even my
Look,
son?
I don't want to get too deep here. There's some deep insight into the soul in this. And it's the idea of just innate responsibility of bringing pride to your father's household and your father's name.
True. Yes.
And there's something here that's you can call it nature, you can call it nurture.
That paternal instinct that is born inside young boys.
There is nature and there is nurture. I believe some of this is nature. Never could I abandon my father's flag. Never.
I couldn't. No.
Never. So
I'm the same.
I don't want to be too negative here. I'm just saying maybe you know how some are cut from a different cloth. I think he might just be cut from the same cloth. Unfortunately, a sheep, some could say.
I will say though, I will pray for you, and just the prodigal son. He can go, he can party, he can lay with the pigs. But he will come home.
He will return.
He will come home.
He will come home to the doors.
And as he is your son, he is our son too. We will also welcome him back into the fold. There will be no shame. We will clothe him. We will clean him. We will prepare a feast for him whenever he returns.
Next up, from Pessimistic Door, for purely bracket research, who are your favorite potential upsets of any seed line? Final four favorites and dark horse to make a run in the tournament. Can't say Vanderbilt. I will tell you, like I said at the beginning, I have not filled out my full bracket yet.
Mm-hmm.
I usually fill out my bracket. I will be doing it tomorrow and we'll finalize it after the play-in game because the play-in game tomorrow with SMU and Miami of Ohio intrigues me as far as the rest of the bracket is concerned. But I'm not going to have the best. These are just going to be off the cuff for me based on just basketball knowledge. Trevor has filled out his bracket. So maybe Trevor can answer this question better.
Yeah. So in terms of like I don't know if this is a criteria, but like a 1 seed I think is a fraud. I'm going to be honest. I think Zona is going to be the first 1 seed to fall. Not a team that does not like to shoot the three, a team that whenever they shoot the three is not good at shooting the three. I think they could get exploited. And if it gets into a shootout with an opposing team, do they have the faculties to combat that? So I'm not a Zona guy. Now, I understand that's a hot take. In terms of upsets, this wouldn't be a huge upset. I really like St. Louis over Georgia. I think St. Louis, I know they've had a little bit of a skid. However, I think they have athletes, and I think St. Louis could potentially make a run. I know a sexy pick right now is USF over Louisville. I think Louisville's a dark horse. I think Louisville could be a Sweet 16 team.
Another sexy 5-12 is High Point over Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've got Wisconsin winning that. I tell you what, though. I think 13 Hofstra beats 4 Alabama.
Wow.
I think with the Aiden Holloway news, I think
That's
him
big.
not being there forward, I think Hofstra could get an upset over number 4 Alabama.
I also think Akron, Texas Tech.
I've got
is
Akron
really
winning that
interesting.
game.
That's one that I did have marked that I will have Akron beating Texas Tech
No
without
Toppin.
Without Toppin. And Akron's also an incredibly talented team. I mean,
Really good team.
So going into that tournament, I know all the talk was about Miami of Ohio. Akron was the favorite to win that conference tournament. Akron was that good all season. So it's not a shock that they are. I just haven't seen them. It's been discussed. Maybe I just have been tuned out. I haven't seen that talked about as like the sexiest 12-5. And I think that is the sexiest upset pick, way sexier than High Point.
I'll go ahead and tell you, I don't love my national champion because a freshman has not led a team to a national title since 2013 with Anthony Davis. But with that being said, I have Duke winning the national title. Very chalk, I know. I don't trust Zona. I sure as hell don't trust Florida. I've got Michigan in the Final Four, but I have Duke beating Houston, and I have I believe I have Duke, Michigan as my championship.
So I haven't filled mine out, but I've looked at it already. I would say the toughest region is Duke's region. That feels like murderer's row.
Oh, that was a bad one. Yeah.
And to me, the easiest region feels like Michigan's. I don't trust Florida, like you said, just because I don't trust the SEC generally. I saw what I saw during non-con play. Things can change.
Yeah.
But all this momentum feels a lot like conference play caused the momentum.
I
for these
agree.
teams. But I could be wrong. Florida's really talented. And when Xavier Lee's playing well and Boogie's playing well, they're tough to stop. And they have the size with Chinua and Condon. Arizona, I really like Arizona. I think they're the second toughest region of any of these teams. Purdue's going to be a tough matchup.
Then they're hot too. They're real hot.
But Michigan's in my Final Four. I'm torn on Duke, not because I think Duke might be. I think they are seeded the best team in the country. It's just their path to the Final Four is brutal.
And it's
like
you trust a freshman as well?
Yeah,
too.
like I get it. Like Kansas, St. John's, Michigan State, UConn. Like that's all. It feels like all the top level seeds at those spots. Those are those. Yeah, like St. John's being a 5
is insane.
tough.
St. John should be a 4 at the worst.
Yeah, that feels
doubled up, one Big East regular season and Big East tournament.
I mean, even Louisville at a 6. I know they're a sexy team to get picked to get upset, and USF is a hell of an 11. Like there's this entire region.
I don't know. That's a matchup that there's a couple of matchups that I do reserve the right to change. People being so on USF to beat Louisville has me thinking that like Louisville will win. Can I explain that? No. I also just really like this Louisville team. I'm going to reserve the right to change that.
Yeah, I think my Final Four, glancing at it, is either going to be Purdue, Arizona, Michigan's going to be my Final Four, Houston's going to be in my Final Four, and then I'm just that bloodbath of a region. I will probably end up going with Duke, but I would not be shocked if it's not Duke, and it's only because I've watched Duke probably 8 or 10 times this season. I think Duke is the best team in the country. Now, always, it's not the best team in the country. It's the team playing the best basketball right now during the tournament, during a 5-game stretch or 6-game. Is it 5 games?
Yes.
Okay, 5-game stretch. But Duke throughout this year, to me, has been the best team. And then I think Michigan, to me, has been the second best team. Arizona 3, Florida 4. And Florida feels like a gap in between Arizona and Florida. So
like you can make an argument like
Houston
or UConn even.
That's the team that I might have coming out of that region. I don't know. I got to look into it.
I love the Johnnies. I feel like they could make a deep run.
That would be interesting.
Another team, last dark horse I have, MJ Collins and Utah State, I think could make a deep run. They're playing really good
team we
basketball.
didn't mention. I don't know if it's a dark horse, but I mean, as a team, I think legitimately could upset the 1 seed in their region. You mentioned them as Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah.
But it's one of those teams that played so well during the tournament. Did they get it out of their system too early?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just superstitious, but
I'm right there with you. However, if somebody showed me their bracket and they had Arkansas in the Final Four, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of seeds higher than like a 5 seed that I love making a run, to be honest. I'm sure that means that there will be a ton of low seeds or high seeds, whatever the right term is, that make a run. I don't know. Maybe it's the NIL in my brain, but I just don't see as many potential, oh, this team could do it outside of like an Arkansas at 4. Or I really do think, not related to bias, that Vanderbilt is a team that could make a run.
I have Vanderbilt going to the Elite Eight in my bracket.
I have them getting knocked out in the Sweet 16 by Florida. I just think it's tough to beat a team, again, that's elite at the level Florida is after you just kind of picked them apart, just demolished them. I think it's tough to do that twice in a row. But that is it for that question. I think there was one more part of that. It says, also, will there be any local watch parties if Vandy starts getting deep in the tournament? I do not know. We will let you know if we find out.
Yes.
Next up, Anchor Down 4224. I'm going to the game Thursday, and a heavy decision is weighing on my brain. Do I paint FUT Jr. on my back and run across the floor during the game to assert dominance and to distract the McNeese players with how delightful my body is? I wouldn't bring UT Jr. into it when they're not involved. You could think of something interesting to paint, and distracting them with their beautiful body, that's a sacrifice that you should make.
I'm always down for putting in FUT Jr. So I like the original idea.
Next up from World's Strongest Vandy Fan. Is the SEC down in baseball?
Yes.
Seems like a lot more early season chaos than the past couple years. Where are we pre-gaming women's basketball on Saturday? I will say on the baseball side of things, I think the opposite effect with the transfer portal is going to happen with baseball, where guys are going to seek out playing time and it's going to democratize talent a lot more just because there's not as much NIL money. So the opposite of what's happening with basketball and football, where the transfer portal has democratized in some ways, but really it's going to continue to consolidate at the top where there's more money. That's where the high talent's going to go. Baseball, there's just not as much NIL money in it. So it's just like the transfer portal is allowed guys. They're just not going to sit for 3 years. So you're going to get better talent at mid-level or historically mid-level high majors and then outside of high major programs.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't think we have a pregame plan for women's basketball on Saturday.
No.
We will let you know on the board if that changes.
Yeah.
Alex is hyped up about the women's basketball game. Tyler CTD. I have to work Thursday during the Vandy McNeese game. If, God willing, we advance, will there be any organized TDR watch parties going forward? Probably not for this weekend. If they make it to the Sweet 16, maybe.
If they make it to the Sweet 16, I think I'd be willing to, or God Miller would do it without even being asked. A Sweet 16 feels,
yeah.
That feels reasonable.
He goes on to say, I would assume we would play on Saturday for round 2. I have inventory that day, but if the planets align, I may get out in time if the game starts late enough. I have been out of the loop for some time. If there will be any opportunity to insert myself back into the fold with my fellow Doors, I will try to move heaven and earth to do so. Love you guys. Anchor the fuck down.
Hell yeah, dude.
So Saturday, no. I will tell you, if they win, hoping they win round 1, there won't be one Saturday. I will be at fall camp Saturday morning, be writing up my takeaways from that, and then we'll be watching the game. There's just no way on Saturday. Sweet 16, we'll figure something out.
Sweet 16.
If they make it to a Sweet 16, we'll figure something out. Next up from Adam Baum, 1987. This is the last question. Everything else is replies to previous questions. Is there an update on pitchers? There's a lot more baseball than I thought. Why the hell is everybody talking baseball so much? Is there an update on pitchers or Barzy being close to returning? Feels like if we had a healthy pitching rotation, might create a lot of excitement for this team.
No, there's no updates.
Thoughts on Corbin saying Nadu is on similar trajectory of Kumar? I don't believe him.
Did you add the I don't believe him? Or
no,
was
I,
that?
I said that.
Yeah,
That wasn't part of the question.
I think Nadeau is great, and he should be a weekend guy. But no, he's not on the trajectory.
You're
of Kumar Rocker.
comparing, you could argue, the best starting pitcher in the history of Vanderbilt baseball. And he did have the most historic performance individually of a starting pitcher in that regional against Duke. Or super regional. Next up, are y'all doing a TDR bracket pool? Yes.
Yes.
Check out our Twitter. Check out the board. Yes, we are. $100 Roback gift card and a free TDR hat to whoever wins. So yes.
Or sleepover.
Or sleepover. Yes. And lastly, how many times have y'all changed your pants today? Seeing clips of Curtis in that gold 2. A few.
An undisclosed number.
Undisclosed. Yeah. Seeing Curtis out there in 2, he looks the part. I will say that.
Yeah.
He looks the part. All right. That is it for premium message board questions. Anything else you want to add on episode 358 before we close it out, Trevor?
I'm so nervous for Thursday. I just want to win, man. I would do a lot for just one win.
This program needs a victory in the NCAA tournament. The SEC tournament was one thing, like maybe I'm downplaying it just because of how badly I won an NCAA tournament win, the loss in the SEC championship game. That to this program would just signify moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what you need. So I'm nervous as hell for Thursday as well. It's all I can think about right now. To be honest, it's all I've thought about since it was announced. That's it.
That's all
Any
I
last
have.
thoughts? All right.
Should I wear my MJ or my MJ Vanderbilt jersey to class on Thursday?
Possibly.
No undershirt.
Yes.
Just jersey on nips.
Yep. All right. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host, Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 358 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collectibles.